All right, we're back for another Friday financial wrap-up with Mr. Michael Zuber. How are you, Michael?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this a day early. We are actually recording this one versus doing it live. I got some family stuff tomorrow, so I appreciate this.
It's funny because I was a little discombobulated with the change in day and time. I'm such a creature of habit. We're recording this for January the 30th, 2026. Time flies when you're having fun. Can you believe February's like a sneeze away?
No, I mean, it's really funny. I started this, whatever called Misogi, writing an article each and every day, originally 5 days a week, of course, became 7 days a week. And the first month is almost over. I can't believe it. It's crazy.
Great job. Great job. Let's get right into it. Fed Day. What happened? What's your take?
So the Fed Day kind of was exactly as I expected. So first, no cut, no raise, big nothing burger. We had two dissents, the two dissents that we could have all predicted. These are all Trump guys, Waller and Moran. We also had the press doing what the press does. They tried to dig into the, to the drama, Lisa Cook, subpoena, all this other stuff. And Powell wasn't having any of it. He said, basically, none of your business, like 7 times. He said it nicer, but that's basically what he said. None of your business. And, so it was kind of a boring Fed day. The last several Fed meetings have been fireworks, and this one was a dud. But in the real estate world, I think yesterday sent a signal. What do I mean by that? I think there's a lot of people in the multifamily space that have been praying to the gods that Powell and T would keep cutting rates, because it's been their belief that if rates got low enough, the market would bail them out of bad deals. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened yesterday is the Fed said, no, we're not bailing anybody out. I think there's a good chance that, if the numbers stay where they are, that, the June cut gets delayed till September. So I do think that the banks are going to start cleaning up their portfolios of bad commercial properties, because I don't think the Fed's going to bail anybody out. So, that might be more of a hope and a prayer, because again, I'm shopping for distressed apartment buildings. But I think yesterday moved the needle. And, I think the banks are going to start to clean up their portfolio. So we'll see.
Very interesting times. When will the new Fed, I know it's May, but do like all of a sudden the June meeting, potential cut in June, that would be the new chair. Is that correct?
Correct. That would, assuming it gets confirmed, because the Fed chair does have to go through confirmation. But yes, the June meeting will likely be a new Fed president, correct?
Okay, very interesting. Obviously, we'll keep our eye on it. Talk about what a wild ride, man. You called it several weeks ago, gold, silver, and even let's talk about crypto. Throw a little, like, what your thoughts are on crypto. What happened with gold and silver? Talk about it.
So it's really interesting. Even if you look today, gold and silver all over the map, and Bitcoin's down. Last time I checked, Bitcoin's down $5,000, 84,000. So Bitcoin's crashing. And I think this is a combination of events. It started way back when Russia invaded Ukraine. The United States crossed a red line, and that was where we basically confiscated Russia's money that was in our system. And I think that sent a lot of people to start exiting or reallocating away from the dollar. Given the geopolitical stuff the last year or so, I think more and more people are getting out of the dollar and into gold. In fact, gold is now the largest asset held by the world. It used to be treasuries. Now it's gold. Okay. I also think there's this yen carry trade, which is threatening to blow up, which means people will have to repatriate dollars out of the U.S. back to Japan. And then I think gold and silver on such a rip that the crypto bros, the ultimate gamblers and gunslingers, are selling Bitcoin and buying gold. I mean, just think about gold on Monday of this week. It hit 5,000 for the first time.
Yeah.
By Thursday morning, it hit 5,500.
Wild. 10% in
4 days. Yeah.
4 days. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, crazy. And silver went up to, silver last Friday hit 100. It hit 120 today. So that's a week.
20%. Wow.
Yeah. So again, I think what's happening is all of these events are going, sell America, sell the dollar. I really do think crypto people are dumping Bitcoin because it's been dead. It's dead money, and they're going to gold and silver. Now, I don't know how long that lasts. meme stocks, have a way of blowing up on themselves.
Yeah.
But this has gone parabolic. I mean, if you look at the chart,
Yeah.
It's just wild. And that's not to say it can't get more wild. I mean, there are people now at like, I think it was JP Morgan, it might've been Citigroup, that are now saying silver could hit 150. Dude, we could hit 150 by Valentine's Day, right? The way it's going.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It makes sense. And you got to figure a 20-something, 30-something-year-old millionaire, multimillionaire who's done real well, whatever, maybe tech, somebody like that. Gold and silver was not on their radar.
No,
6 months ago or 6 weeks ago.
It was a boomer stock. Exactly. That's right. That's a great point. It was never like they only thought digital gold.
Right.
Gold. And now they're like, holy shit, look at the real gold. I mean, Bitcoin's down 40% from 126 down to 84, and gold's tripled or doubled or whatever the hell it's done. So yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, that are now like, let's go get some yellow metal. I think you're right.
I love the Graham Stephan, your buddy Graham. He has the Rolex and he goes, this I got for, and that it's worth more than the melt value. The
melt value,
is more than what he paid for it. So it's like that's crazy. So wild. Yeah. Talk about real quick. I know we're going to be moving forward, marching along on this. How do you think in terms of the bond market, based on this little ripple, how do you think the bond market, specifically the 10-year, how does it react to this whole dollar, yen trade, gold, silver, crypto? What is your thoughts on bonds right today?
That's a great question because, again, bonds influence the spread. The spread influences mortgage rates. Again, I think we're just going sideways.
Yeah.
I've thought this all year. I don't see a catalyst to go lower. In fact, I would tell you the risk is it goes up, not down. I think we're at or near the bottom. And by that mean, 10 basis points from the bottom, but we could go up. There's a chance we go up 30 basis points from here, given all that
moves mortgage.
Oh, amen. It moves mortgage
because the margin, the spread is tight now.
It's tight now. Exactly. There's no more room to squeeze. Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep talking about this. So let's keep going. So talk about anything else on Jerome Powell, Fed Day, the press conference.
There's one more thing, but I'll save it till after the next point. But yeah, let's get to the next one.
Okay. So on my notes, I see to talk about the event.
Consumer confidence.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that.
So I wanted to see consumer confidence. So consumer confidence came in this week lower than the pandemic. And that just strikes me as odd because we shut down the country.
Yeah. And
to think that consumers were more optimistic then than they are now just strikes me as odd. It's like, does that logically make sense? Right? We have all-time high in the stock market, gold's ripping, real estate's not crashing, unemployment's at 4.5%. Like, really? Are we really thinking that today is worse than shutting down the country? So it just doesn't logically make sense. And then Jerome Powell, back to the earlier comment, he actually said in front of the podium, there has been some divergence between our consumer surveys and actual consumer behavior. I'm like, yeah, no shit. So I've said for quite a while now, I think at least the last 90 days, that the way they're doing these consumer surveys has to change. The fact that they're calling people and, I don't know about you, but I don't even have a phone line in my house.
No.
Right? They can't even call me, right? I'm in a big ass house. I have no phone line. So I think they need to change the way they're doing consumer behaviors because they're just getting old boomers who watch in MSNBC or something, and they're getting a very distorted view. And that's not helpful, right? If you're trying to make decisions off 20% of the population, you're missing everybody, right? So yeah, the fact that Jerome Powell came out and said consumer surveys are not matching consumer behavior is like, that's a tell. That's a tell. So I was happy he said that.
Very interesting. We've got a big one. We're going to finish on a big one because I'm going to ask you about your interview with Ryan Pineda and about should we or should not be buying real estate. We're going to save that at the end though. So I believe in the show notes, let's talk about Powell and the press conference.
Yeah. So that's, again, Powell was kind of, not answering questions. He talked about the survey. He's a short-term guy now. He's got 2 meetings left. If I was a betting man, I'd put $1,000 easy on no cuts at the next 2 meetings. He wants to go out. In fact, I think that the only question about Powell now is, does he stay or does he go? And, I'm just a complete coin flip at this point. I do think he rides off into the sunset and says, see you later. This place is crazy. But there is a chance that he has the legal right to stay for another 2 years as a Fed member. But I can't imagine him doing that, but he could.
Interesting. Yeah, I would think he's headed to the Bahamas or something, right?
Something. He's worth like 50 million or some crazy number. So, why would you deal with this craziness if you didn't have to?
Yeah, let's go on a vacation. But anyway,
let's go enjoy life.
Yeah. So let's talk about the event. I can't wait. I'm going to see you in 2.5 weeks. And
yeah, it's going to be amazing. We do have 16 tickets. So again, you beat me up a week or 2 ago to buy an extra 20 seats, which I did. But we've only sold 4. So come on, guys, make Ty look like a genius. We got 16 more seats to buy.
Help me out.
Help him out. Yeah. But,
help a brother out.
For me, there's been a lot of rejuggling of the agenda because speakers are coming in different times. So that's always fun for me to be chaotic and all of that. So I did that twice yesterday, having to completely change the agenda twice in the last 48 hours. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm starting to get product delivered to the house. I got all the belts delivered for the new speakers. I got 26 belts or 25 belts or something yesterday, and they all look good. I did quality check yesterday. So yeah, man, it's real. I've spent almost $80,000 already for this event, and it's I look forward to it. It's 2 weeks away.
Now, I can't wait to see you. It's so much fun. The food is delicious, by the way. This is not your normal conference where they're cooking for thousands, and they're cooking catering exclusively just for our community, our event. The food is delicious. It's a great venue. Folks, get yourself there. Buy the tickets. Go to Eventbrite right now. Get yourself there. Michael, talk about what you're doing in the school community. I think there's so many good things happening there. New accountability. Talk about it.
Yeah, the school communities. Again, I'm convinced it's what I'll be known for most, even over a best-selling book, a growing YouTube channel. It's going to be the community. We're now, I think, 530 everyday wealth builders. New accountability group launched next Thursday. Basically wealth without real estate. So again, we're adding all kinds of things to the community. It's also going to be the only spot where you can live stream the event. The last 2 years, as you know, we've sold $99 tickets, and we've made between $6,000 and $7,000 live streaming it. But this time, I'm rolling the dice.
Yep.
We're only going to put it in school. If you want to game the system, go ahead. You can get in for $20, so you'll save $79. But my guess is the community wows you and you stick around. So I'm making a bet on the come that our community will welcome all these new members, and we'll be 600 or 700 people strong as we exit. So yeah, if you want to live stream, just Pace Morby, $20. Jason Hartman, $20. Come see the entire event, $20. And I'm definitely rolling the dice because I could definitely use that $6,000 elsewhere. But I'm taking a risk.
I love it in that for $20, what he's saying is come check it out. And here's what he knows. You'll fall in love because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of value and courses and content, and then just the community and the connection. So folks, get yourself involved with school. Dude, the interview with Ryan Pineda and the bald guy with the beard, Brian, which I know Brian, I don't know where I hung out with Ryan once with Adrian and at an event. I've been to a couple of Ryan's events, one with you and I think one with Adrian. I know Brian very well because I remember when his upswing, he used to come to Adrian and our free Zooms and get trained by us. So before stuck his head up Ryan's, got to become Ryan's CEO and whatnot. Yeah. So anyway, talk about your experience with them.
Yeah. So again, it was the first interview or discussion I left upset. I thought it went horribly because it wasn't what I thought we agreed to talk about.
Yeah.
I thought we agreed to talk about how to invest in 2026 and why 2026 is going to be better than 2025. That's what I was prepared for, and that's what I thought we agreed to. And it may have started there, but it quickly diverted to, you can't do it. Lots of complaining and whining. And they talked over me a bunch. They didn't listen. They just wanted to gripe. And, there's all kinds of things. It's hard to summarize in a couple of minutes. But the biggest thing, my takeaway was, they're entrepreneurs and I talk to employees. They want to replace income and I want to build wealth. And we just don't see the world the same way. And again, the point for me is 2026 is going to be so much better than 25.
Yeah.
If you're a real estate agent, real estate investor, mortgage broker, appraiser, inspector, we're going to do 10% more transactions. Who's 26 going to be bad for? The people that sell courses, that sell masterminds. Why? Because we lost 80% of the wholesalers.
Yeah.
In 2026, it's the grinders and the operators that win.
Yep.
The people that got lucky with timing and bet on momentum, they're going to suck wind. So, I'm happy and they're not.
It's interesting in that just doing this a long time, right? You've been doing this a long time. Myself
almost 30 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You think about 3 decades, right? You've touched, and you look at and you go, okay, what? And this isn't direct to Brian or Ryan. I think generally those are really good dudes and good-hearted. I think they mean well. I think that what's happened is that we've got a lot of what I would call popcorn millionaires, and that have caught the wave and have done well, and that there are segments of the business where people got real shiny penny in that whatever the new hot trend was, Airbnb, midterm rental, short-term rental, co-living.
Section 8, blah, blah, multifamily. Yeah.
If you did that, if you tend to trend, you're never going to make any effing money, ever.
No. You're going to live in the suck. You're late.
You're late.
You live in the
by the
suck.
time you hear about it, by the time the guru is selling it, by the time they're talking about it on YouTube, you already missed it. All the juice has been squeezed out of it.
That's what I tried to get to. Because again, they kept, where they thought they got me was like, Zuber, you took advantage of 2010, 11. And I'm like, you fucking assholes. I did the same thing since 2001, bought properties every year for 23 years. Yes, I bought a bunch in 2010, 11. And yes, it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback now. But do you know some of the hardest years to buy? 2010, 11. Banks told me to F off. Nobody wanted to lend, right? It's the people that grind and did the work that made it happen. So yeah, it was, as I opened, it's the only interview I've ever been to that I drove home mad. I
want the viewer of our show, this show, to know Michael worked his ass off looking at a buy box and not even buying anything or making offers and never getting any traction, agents shitting on him, and all of this stuff for probably 5 years. How many years did you?
Easy.
How many
5 or
years
6
did you?
years.
5 or 6 years of grind and get spit on.
Yep.
And then finally pick up a few here and there.
Yeah.
And then you got your timing of momentum.
Yep.
But you earned your momentum. It wasn't like you're not a popcorn guy.
I didn't. I looked at my buy box every day for 3 years in a row. That means I ignored 99% of the market. I'm not chasing trends. But when the trend comes in front of me, I'm going to take action. That's just what happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. Dude, you're the fucking best.
Thank you.
I love it. I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. And folks, get yourself to the event. Excuse my language, by the way. Forgive me if some of you are like, why is he Ty cuss? I tried.
What happened? Ty doesn't cuss. Yeah. What happened?
I know, but I'm so passionate about,
I get it.
Doing the work.
Yes.
You're a blessing, brother. Thank you. I can't wait to see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, family.
Can't wait to see all of you in a couple weeks.
That's right.